Shelley doesn't like the animation. All right, Albany's legislative session, it's set to end on Wednesday, and a lot of things are still outstanding, including, like we mentioned, the East Ramapo monitor that we discussed. And this year, things could be even trickier than normal because some of the old players are not there. And let me ask to that, how much more does it get complicated, Assemblywoman, that for good or for bad, Silver and Skelos knew how to not only whip votes here, but get their particular groups in line for the vote. You got Flanagan, you got Hasty, each with their own individual challenges, but most notably, they're new to the gig. How much does it make a complicated situation even that much more difficult with new players?
Well, I can only speak for Carl Hasty, the Speaker of the Assembly. He may be new to the gig of leader, but he's not new to using power and being strategic against a governor who's a heavy-handed person and who throws his weight around. He has done incredibly well under the circumstances. I mean, we made it through the budget without too much damage, and we did hold our own against the governor. You know, the Senate, we always disagree with the Senate. That's historical. But we have a problem is that the governor has really tried to shove us around. And I think our conference has said we're not going to do that. And I think Carl gets the message, and he's been standing up to the governor on repeated issues. And he said right now that we need a rent solution. You know, that issue, the expiration of the rent laws, must be dealt with. And I don't think the fact he's new to the speakerdom is itself the problem. I think the problem is that we are, you know, we have a conference that's tired of being pushed around.
You've seen this in different administrations, Jessica. Does it matter whose leadership when it comes down to crunch time when you got a budget deadline?
Yeah, sure. I mean, your leadership capabilities certainly come into play. But to Shelley's point, Carl Hasty has been there. John Flanagan has been in Albany for a long time. He knows the system. He's incredibly bright. I don't think he's going to be outmaneuvered by anybody. You know, it's not, he has the full support of the conference plus the IDC. So, you know, it is very sticky. I think overall the climate up there right now is, you know, people do just want to get out of town. I think you're going to see a lot of just straight extenders. I don't think you're going to see anything too controversial. I think as far as the Senate goes, I know from speaking to them that the making the property tax cap permanent is really their top priority, so which would be great for the Hudson Valley. So I think you're going to see a lot of horse trading with that, and you know, them try to really get that done. But
well, the third man in the room, obviously the governor, and
that's right. They were the three amigos.
Yes.
Skelos and Silver. So what are these guys?
There's a fourth.
There's one amigo
no
left.
one's friends anymore.
Two stooges.
What do you think? What do you think Cuomo's lost some of the mojo? Forget the approval ratings.
Well,
do you get the sense? I mean, even the optics of, you know, up in Dannemora when he's climbing in the thing and everything else.
Boy,
it's like, can I change the subject or something? Right.
Was
if they get caught.
The escape from Dannemora. Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, my take on Flanagan is he might be a guy you can do business with. I mean, Skelos, I mean, he could do business with him too, but you know, but this guy. And one thing I can say about Flanagan is at least he's not mentioned by the Moreland Commission, which Hasty is or was. You know, and that's been that to me that's the story of this.
Absolutely, and
know,
Dominic, I understand
that thing is haunting them all or him.
That maybe he's competent within the caucus, and he can certainly maybe draw a line with the governor, but it's got to be a cloud hanging over him when the Times says a page and a half on you, and we've heard there's a second story to come. I mean,
over
Mr. Hasty.
Mr. Hasty.
Yes.
Using campaigns.
Oh, see, I have to
fix his car.
I have to be careful because one of his members is here at the table tonight.
She can't hit you from here.
She can't hit me from here.
She
okay.
can take it.
Well, is it just a cloud or is it bigger than a cloud? I mean, is it just a little small cloud? Because it's my contention that
karaoke,
that
going to nightclubs, paying the girlfriend.
I didn't say it. I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
You said it. You have said it. And honestly, let someone say or prove that it violates existing law. I've said before on this show, there's things that are done in Albany traditionally that people have found unacceptable or unethical. I'm not judging his conduct. The fact is, he hasn't done anything illegal. No one has said he's done anything illegal.
The only thing I will say, he came in and said in his first conference he was the reform candidate. He was the guy that was going to, in fact, clean it up. I'm not putting this on you, obviously. I'm just saying out loud, if that's his whole mantra, that after Shelley Silver, they expedited the vote to get him, that we didn't have time for vetting because we had a budget and everything else, and this is the best we can do?
No. Let me just tell you, since I'm on the commission that was I was part of the reform movement, and I was in the group. I'm in 2 committees that he appointed, both to find, one, a new sort of ethics council on a bipartisan basis to ensure that we do better, which we must do better, and 2, to adopt reforms. The way the Assembly operates with his leadership is far more democratic. Ask the Republicans as well in the Assembly. They appreciate it. It's more open. It's more transparent.
Okay, but I
was
just
on
want
the LCA show the other night, which was, he did the rebuttal for it, and his whole shtick was making fun of all the scandals, and it was like awkward, like because the whole thing was like he was trying to poke fun at, which I give him credit for, trying to do, but it was just, the room was frozen, like no one really even could laugh because it's like, well, all this stuff is true.
I just want to say,
papers.
I agree with Jessica that probably you'll see a lot of extensions in terms of deals because folks, I mean, I'm not the first one to say this, folks are looking over their shoulder to see if Preet Bharara is looking at this horse trading.
The rumor mill we're hearing, and you're closer to it, and Andrew and I have heard it from folks, everybody up there is worried about the next shoe that's going to drop, and in particular pockets of this state here, lawmakers, even our good friend Scott Vanderhoff was talking to some of his fellow Republican colleagues who are really worried. It might even be before the budget, but certainly maybe soon thereafter we could get some more names that come down. You're there. Is there a palpable sense, among others, who's next?
I've heard this from you and others, and I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure it's out there. I will tell you, as someone who's up there, like, with a baseball bat to get $27 million for Yonkers before the schools lose sports and arts.
We'll get to it, I promise.
I know,
yes.
But everyone has an issue like that, and my colleagues, on the whole, I'm sure there's some bad apples left to get, and they'll be gotten. They are up there killing for the issues that matter to their district, and they're working as hard as I am. And yes, I'm sure people are worried about Preet Bharara looking over their shoulder, and I'm sure there are some bad apples, and there may be other names. But we are not going about our business being careful of what we do, as if somehow every step is unethical. I live an ethical life. I live an ethical life up there, and my colleagues do as well.
And I was speaking to a colleague earlier today who said, here I am working on an important piece of legislation for the East Ramapo School District, and he said, there's a misnomer out there in the public that and I suspect you and others, know what's going to happen next with the next name to drop. He goes, people were saying, oh, well, you had to know about Shelley Silver. He goes, I didn't know. He goes, I learned when you guys know. I learned probably after you talking to me knew. So it's that kind of Paul, fair or not, but that's out there that's got to make this tough situation even that much trickier.
I would say also, we were talking about this before we went on the air, that Zembrowski and Jaffe showed some real initiative and leadership, exactly.
Yes.
And that's not a stereotype that's common, in attaching to the
Well, certainly the perception is it's not.
It's very important. I agree.
Okay, when we come back, interesting debate. A lot of comedians don't even want to play college campuses anymore because they say students are too PC, so they're afraid to even say anything. Among them, hardly the most, comic that goes blue, Jerry Seinfeld. We're going to talk about that and also ask if it is too PC in not only the college campus world, but for all of us.